She helped the same man every night. Unaware he was a billionaire, rain hammered the bus stop roof so violently that it sounded like the sky itself was breaking. Emily Carter wrapped her thin scarf tighter around her neck as she stood alone, waiting for the last bus home after her late shift at the diner. She was exhausted, chilled, and worried about the overdue rent sitting like a stone in her mind. But then, like every night for the past month, she noticed him, the same man, sitting on the same bench, wearing the same worn-out coat, head lowered, quiet, invisible to everyone but her. His name, she eventually learned, was Daniel. At first, Emily simply offered him a warm cup of coffee on her way out. He never asked for anything, never complained, just whispered a soft thank you, as if even gratitude was a luxury he didn't deserve. Something in his eyes, tired but strangely kind, kept pulling at her heart. She didn't know why, but she couldn't walk past him without helping. Over the weeks, helping Daniel became the only part of her day that made her feel useful, important, human. She would give him leftover sandwiches from the diner, sometimes a pair of gloves or a scarf she'd knit herself. Daniel never accepted money, though he clearly needed it. He only smiled gently and told her, "You've done enough." But Emily knew what struggle looked like. She had lived in it her whole life. She'd watched her mother juggle 2 jobs, raising her alone after Emily's father walked out. Now, years later, Emily was trapped in the same cycle, working overtime, sleeping little, and still falling short. Yet Daniel seemed to be carrying a heavier weight than she could understand. One night, after handing him a warm meal, Emily finally asked, "Where's your family?" Daniel hesitated. A shadow crossed his face. "Gone," he whispered. "Everything gone." Emily's heart twisted. She didn't press him further, but 2 weeks later, everything changed. That evening, she arrived at the bus, stopped to find Daniel shivering uncontrollably, soaked from the rain. His lips were blue, his eyes half closed. Without thinking twice, Emily dropped her bag and knelt beside him. "Daniel, you need a hospital," she said firmly. He shook his head weakly. "I don't want trouble for you." "You are trouble for me," she said, tears stinging her eyes. "I care about you. Please let me help." His eyes softened, tired, grateful, and he nodded. Emily called an ambulance. She stayed with him the whole time, holding his freezing hand as they rushed him to the ER. The nurse told her he had severe pneumonia, worsened by cold nights and lack of rest. If she'd come even a day later, he might not have made it. For 2 days, Emily visited him after her shift, even though it meant walking an hour home because she couldn't afford a ride. She brought books and sat by his bedside, sometimes talking, sometimes just sitting in silence. Daniel slowly opened up. He told her he used to run a company, that he'd lost someone he loved deeply. That grief had consumed him so completely he'd walked away from everything. Emily didn't judge him. She simply listened. On the 3rd day, Daniel was discharged. When he stepped outside, he didn't head back toward the streets. Instead, a sleek black car pulled up in front of them, and a sharply dressed man hurried out. "Mr. Harrington, thank God," the man exclaimed. "We've been trying to locate you for months." Emily blinked. "Mr. Harrington?" But Daniel, quiet, gentle, homeless Daniel, stood straighter, suddenly looking nothing like the man she had known at the bus stop. "Emily," he said softly, turning toward her, "this is my assistant, Mark." Emily stared at him, stunned. Daniel Harrington, the reclusive tech billionaire whose mysterious disappearance months ago had been all over the news. Daniel must have seen the shock on her face. "I wasn't lying," he said quietly. "I lost everything that mattered. My wife died, and I couldn't handle the world anymore, so I left it." Emily's breath caught in her throat. "But you," he continued, "you saw me. You helped me without knowing who I was. You treated me like a person, when I had forgotten how to be one." She felt tears rise. Daniel stepped closer. "Let me help you now." Emily shook her head instinctively. "Daniel, I didn't do it for anything in return." "I know," he said gently. "That's why you deserve it." 2 days later, Daniel visited the diner. He sat at one of the booths like a normal customer. No limousine, no bodyguards, no expensive suit. Just Daniel, her Daniel. Over coffee, he slid a folded paper toward her. Emily opened it slowly and froze. It was a job offer, a position at one of his companies, a salary that could wipe out her debts, help her mom retire, and give her a life she had never dared dream of. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you saved my life," he said, "and now I want to give you the chance to live yours." Emily covered her mouth, tears streaming silently. She didn't deserve all this. Yet Daniel looked at her like she did in the months that followed. Emily's life transformed completely. She excelled at her new job, moved into a warm, safe apartment, and finally felt like she was standing on solid ground. Daniel, too, slowly returned to his company, rebuilding his life with Emily quietly supporting him. One evening, standing under the same bus stop where they first met, Daniel said softly, "You were my light when everything was dark." Emily smiled, eyes shining. "And you taught me that kindness always finds its way back." Their story wasn't about money. It wasn't about luck. It was about how helping a stranger can change two lives at once, and how sometimes the richest people in the world are the ones who have lost everything but still find hope in the kindness of another.